Is Cyberpunk 2077 worth buying? With the reviews finally hitting the internet, we can finally make a semi-informed decision whether or not the hype is deserved. And well, I'm happy to inform you that the answer seems to be a resounding yes. Today we will have a brief overview over the game based on these reviews and go through the good, the bad, as well as the ugly. Before we get started, please remember to like the video if you get any value out of it and dislike it if you don't. I really need the feedback in order to improve. Oh, and also consider subscribing for more Cyberpunk 2077 content.
So what do you want? Supercar? Big house? You want to rule this city? Well, you ain't getting anywhere without an upgrade. You need a softer touch. Stronger's fine, because taking over Night City ain't gonna be easy.
Welcome to the 8th day of our Cyberpunk Christmas Calendar. Since the reviews of Cyberpunk 2077 started coming out, I've been busy reading as many of them as I could get my hands on. The general sentiment seems to be very clear. What Cyberpunk lacks in terms of the minimum length of its main story, it more than makes up for in the depth and richness of the world and its gripping story. However, if you are expecting a game that is truly next-gen, you might be slightly disappointed, as Cyberpunk 2077 seems more like a summation of everything great in current gaming, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But with that, let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Night City, one of the world's last great megalopolises. A hub amassing the best in resources and know-how, and home to manufacturers of cutting-edge technologies. Night City continues to offer the promise of a civilized future.
If there is one thing that everyone seems to agree on when it comes to this game, it's the fact that this game is stunningly beautiful. A vast open world, rich with detail and colors, is yours to explore. Not only is the game jaw-dropping, but the story it delivers is filled with a multitude of choices that impact your story in more ways than you can imagine. The main story can be completed in 20 hours, and let's be honest, probably a lot faster if you rush it, but it only unlocks 3 distinct endings. This is why the side missions are so important. Not only do they give you the chance to develop your relationship with different characters and leave a greater mark on Night City, but they also impact the main story of the game. So far I have heard about 7 different endings in total, but there might be even more if I have understood things correctly. I am also pleased to see that the combat seems solid, if just a tiny bit clunky according to some. Again, you will have a multitude of choices in terms of weaponry, upgrade trees for abilities and associated perks. There is not any sort of traditional class system, but instead you can invest points into 5 primary attributes and then into perks within each of these for more specialized improvements. The combat does not seem to be overly deep, but with much flexibility that allows the player to keep things feeling fresh while looking like an absolute badass. Finally, we must say something about the soundtrack of Cyberpunk 2077, which you can already hear some of on the official YouTube page of Cyberpunk 2077. The music is great and full of custom songs made by in-universe artists singing about the struggles of Night City. I mean, how cool is that? Apparently, the combat music is even greater, and Tom Marks over at IGN said that it often drove the pace of firefights directly, pushing me forward and frequently making me bob my head to the beat as I leapt at people with mantis blades or shot them through their cover.
No bodies, not a one.
Sounds simple enough.
He's lit, assholes!
Is it gonna be dangerous?
Don't you worry, mi amor. We're bulletproof.
Get your ass moving now!
Okay, so let's move on to the bad. While reading a few reviews about the game that were less positive, I noticed a pattern of assumptions that do not necessarily reflect reality. This is understandable since these reviews are out so early, but is something that should be kept in mind. Many have not yet tried multiple playthroughs and therefore they do not realize the impact your decisions have on the story. One personal concern of mine was if the game would be difficult enough, but a quick Google search calmed me down since there exist multiple difficulty settings. However, 2 things that have been more or less unanimously criticized is the rather stiff performance of our beloved Keanu Reeves, as well as bugs.
You're a dick, you know.
And you're a cunt. Maybe we'll fit together after all.
Okay, so let's move on to the ugly. So as I said, the main criticism of the game I have encountered reading all of these reviews seems to be in terms of the many bugs people have encountered. However, what they have played is not the final representation of the game, and thankfully there is an easy fix if it turns out to be a problem at launch as well. Watch some gameplay on release and decide if you want to dive right in. I, for example, will stream it as soon as I can on release and upload a full walkthrough, so you might want to watch that first. But if it still seems too buggy for you after you watched it, you could just wait a little bit longer until they patch it out. I mean, after all, what is another month or so after all these years? Just kidding, don't kill me, but it is an option, just saying. Okay, but that concludes today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know in your comments if you will buy this game on release or just wait a little bit longer and maybe watch me play it, just to make absolutely sure. Have a great one, everybody. Thanks for watching again, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.